What's up, WWE Champions Universe? Welcome to Champions Chat, the fastest growing podcast dedicated to the WWE Champions mobile game. This is a Wednesday edition. I'm Brian Knobs, and with me, as always, is Jerry Sags, Lee Brown. We're the Nasty Boys. What's up, Lee?
The poison pits. The poison pits.
I couldn't even get through the intro because I was giggling so hard at my selection of the Nasty Boys for our Retro Rewind tag team. And yeah, just like you said, the old imagery of like two big guys in black tank tops with like side boob showing and armpit hanging out.
We say those words.
The shaved skullet, the mullet, you know, is like
those
it was
back
like
in style.
Iconic early 90s. It's the quintessential tag team of a retro rewind.
Oh yeah, I remember watching. I lived in El Paso, Texas. I remember watching whatever. It wouldn't have been Raw at the time, but whatever it was, Saturday Superstars or something. And there was this whole thing where the Nasty Boys were wandering around the arena trying to find somebody. And like every time a hot dog vendor got in their way, they like stuck him in the armpit and did the thing where it was like,
oh my gosh.
I remember. And Jimmy Hart walking around with the megaphone going,
yeah. And we had no idea about germs back then. We had no idea about.
Oh, come on. You knew
diseases.
When they were licking their armpits that it was gross.
Remember, like in Butch and Luke, bushwhackers would lick each other's heads. Like,
and the audience and their kid. Like if you brought your kid to the audience, they would lick his head. That was the risk you took of being in the front row.
The 80s. It's amazing we lived to tell the tale coming out of the 80s.
Right.
Well, I didn't even say my name. I said I was Brian Knobs, but I didn't say I was Rusty Graves, which is my actual name. Which one is Brian and Jerry? Do you have any idea which one? The brunette
I think Knobs was the blonde-haired guy, and Sags was the brunette guy. I'm pretty sure.
Sags and Knobs.
Right.
They were two real life best friends of Hulk Hogan. Is one reason they continued to get, you know, like screen time and be on the show, and why they changed companies with him as well. Like they were like his crew. I like the Nest. I mean, like they were fun. They would be a great inclusion into WWE Champions, which is ultimately what we're here to talk about. Lee, would you enjoy a Nasty Boy free and chase superstar?
Maybe. I mean, like anything else in this game, it's not so much who it is, it's what they do in the game now. I mean, there's so many characters that for me, I'm like, yes, I like Wesley, you know, phenomenal character in the game. I've never once seen him wrestle, period, because I don't watch NXT. So to me, he doesn't exist except for as a character in the game. So all I'm basing it off of is what can he do for my roster. So
I know more about. So like when I first started watching NXT, and it was like Wesley month, and I was trying to identify who all of these people were in the game, and like I didn't see any of the ladies. I never saw Nikita on screen. Carmelo Hayes came out. I thought it was Wesley at first. It wasn't. I was like, well, who's this guy? I had no idea he was like a premium, you know, wrestler at the top of the card in NXT. So there's this funny anonymity that comes almost from real life wrestlers being in the game, and then like, but are they actually on TV, and do we know them? What's their future hold? What's their career going to be? Well, we're wrapping up the MLC this month, or we're wrapping up the month-long contest this week. That's a better way to say it. Most of the community that I've either read on Facebook, read on Discord, they're celebrating a great month. They're saying they got Heavy Metal Rhea, they maxed, even if it was down to this week, the beginning of this week, people were still posting, finally maxed. The ones that hadn't maxed until this week might have actually had an advantage, because many of them were able to shard recruit Rhea and get her at 5-star instead of coin recruit Rhea, right? Which means they can also, if they didn't have Trickster Asuka, they grabbed her as well. there might be some benefit to not maxing early based on the decision tree alone.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I had all of the other options when you know, in terms I had Trickster Asuka and whoever else was on the wall this month. So for me, it was Rhea or nothing. I knew going in that I was going to coin recruit her because I was going to use her shards, because shards are such, like, shards are what's holding me back in a lot of areas now.
Yeah.
So I was going to use her shards to take her up and then starfill her, which I do plan to do this weekend during the flash feuds. So yeah.
Nice.
So, but I think if you didn't have especially Asuka,
I don't have
Asuka
Asuka.
is terrible. She's a terrible fighter,
Right.
but one of the best trainers you could possibly have.
Is she the yellow finisher? Is that what she
Hmm.
does?
Or
Yeah, I
all
don't
you,
have
yeah,
her. So
yeah,
I coin recruited heavy metal,
Rhea,
used
yeah,
talent up to work her up to 5 gold.
yeah,
I think once I got the shards, right, it was too late to fuse her. So
right.
then for me, I just missed out because of timing. How important is I am the classic do it fast, do it now, jump on it, max the talent up first day of the kickoff. How important would you say is it to just slow down and wait and see what happens as the
Mhm.
game unfolds? Like, talk to us about that, because if I'm
Yeah,
indicative of a certain demographic in the community, I'm always saying, I wish I would have waited. Dang it. I wish I would have waited to do
right.
this, because now I could have double dipped or et cetera, et cetera. Talk to us about that, Lee.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us wrestle with that vice of being like, "Ooh, gotta go now, gotta go now," and the game, and just the way life and systems around us work, everything is pushing you act now, or you will lose out on this amazing offer. You know, so we've kind of all got that itchy trigger finger, so to speak. But yeah, there are certain things where if you can wait, you definitely reap the benefits of hindsight. So, for example, not because, so I usually do my talent up as soon as it drops. You know, I take my lunch break at work according to when reset is. So I usually wait. For me, it's 1 o'clock. So actually, I would eat at 12. I wait till 1 most days to eat just so I can, you know, kind of lunch break real quick, eat, do my champion stuff. And I would normally do it then. Now, as you know, because of recording and because usually this equipment is at home where we now live stream and all that kind of stuff. Usually my equipment is not here. And so I have to wait. And so there are those
Mm,
opportunities. Like, for example, with DDP dropping last night, if you had waited to do your talent upping, all of a sudden DDP gets included in that. And where that most relevantly hit me is during talent up, I used all of my black TP, like literally every last one, and
right.
I took Nation of Domination Rock to 6-star silver, which means when DDP dropped, and I even said it in the video, I knew that it was going to be AJ Styles tech. So I knew it was going to be a tech at least, right?
Oh,
And I
yeah.
said, I am probably ruining my plans right now because whenever they drop this character, I will not be able to 6-star them. And that's the case. I cannot take DDP beyond 5-star bronze, period. Now,
Right.
if I had waited, I wouldn't have been able to 6-star silver the rock, but he doesn't need it, let's be honest. And I still wouldn't have gotten the full
Mm,
pull, but I would have gotten one more 6-star character for waiting. So there usually are greater rewards when you wait. Not like wait too long, but wait just to that sweet spot.
right. I have also waited too long, right? And then those forgot to equip my steps during a feud, or waited too long and
Yeah,
forgot to redeem prize wall currency, or
right.
so that's equally no, that's more of a feel bad. That's actually more
Yeah,
it's
at
not
least the other way
equally.
you got something out of it, right?
Yeah, it feels really, really bad to have unused currency that just
Yeah.
expires. One guy was saying he had bought like a 7 pull and just forgot to do it, and then it
Oh,
was over the
wow.
weekend loot, and then the weekend went away, and he was like, "Do you think if I message them, they'll bring back the loot?" And I was like,
No.
"What?"
The answer is no.
What? On a Monday? No,
Although,
bro. No, it ain't coming
although
back.
like the Bronson Reed loot is back right now. So if you wait long enough, there is a chance that with certain loot they would, but like that's like that. It's a one in
Yeah,
a million.
right, right.
So
So you brought up the conundrum of the birthday blowout superstars, right?
yeah,
I had a little different strategy than you did. I mean, I'd love to talk through that because I think we represent the entirety of the listener base. That like
yeah,
either they went hard, got all 7 coins and did the
yep,
pull, or they were kind of picky choosy. Maybe they didn't get all 7, but they were
right,
like, I'm not going to push this one up. Or I don't have the resources, or I don't want to
right,
spend. I spent on 2 of them because I did not have the resource, Alexa Bliss
right,
and Tech DDP. Right.
right.
So I bought. Now, they also came with 15 of the MLC loot coins, right? So I
Yeah,
got a 15 pull with that
interesting.
6-star fuse. And I
Okay.
think they also came with like 3,000 shards and maybe like 30 million coins. So it wasn't just like
Oh wow.
you only buy the fuse, right? You actually
Right.
got resource and a little more.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, well, let's talk through that. Was it? Because
Okay, let's talk.
I did. Okay, I had all 7. So I got 7 plates. I got
Hmm.
7, bundles worth of the milestones, the bag, the rewards. I didn't max. I didn't do a
Yeah.
mega to get the premium plate. But let's talk about this. Free superstars that I pushed, free
Hmm.
superstars that I pushed to 6-star this February for the birthday blowout loot.
Okay.
Showboat Andre,
Yep.
Acrocena,
Yep.
Striker, the Authority Triple H, Striker out Undertaker, Trickster Natalia, Acro Alexa Bliss, Tech DDP. Those are the 6 that I now
Yep.
have 6-star on my roster.
Shouldn't it be 7?
7. Those are the 7. I read
Okay.
7
I was like,
names,
wait
but
a
I
second,
said
we missed
6.
somewhere.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
7,
Yeah.
7, 7, 7.
Okay.
Now I did my birthday loot last night. Like I
Ooh.
pulled it. I rolled the dice. I hit that pull button, and so I went hard, right? And I the whole time, all month, I was saying premium guaranteed are going to be
Yeah.
worth it. The
Right.
premium, the featured, that's the correct term. The featured
Featured.
guaranteed
Right.
will make this worth it.
Yep.
This is who I got from my birthday blowout loot.
Uh-oh.
Tech Shayna Baszler fuse. So 6-star
Nice.
bronze fuse.
Okay. She's decent.
6-star bronze fuse Hall of Fame Scott Hall.
Eh.
6-star bronze fuse Acro Shelton Benjamin.
Hmm.
6-star bronze fuse Powerhouse Otis.
Ooh.
6-star bronze fuse Head of the Table Roman.
Okay.
6-star bronze fuse Acro Steamboat.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's fair, right? Because the
Well,
trainer
that's his
ability,
trainer ability. Yeah,
right?
that's the reason why that one's
Okay.
good. But yeah.
Now
Okay, so
my
one win.
guaranteed featured
Okay.
6-star silver Tech Drew McIntyre.
Oh, oh, big sad. Big sad.
Horrible.
Yeah. Oh,
What
oh.
in the world does guaranteed featured actually mean? Because
Well, we've
that's the
talked about
question.
this, but I can
This is
answer
the
that.
question that I think the community is wanting to know
Right.
based on, and we'll talk a little bit more in a minute, maybe about the Bray Wyatt loot and our high rollers loot we did. But what
Mm.
in the world, when we see featured guaranteed, we don't know. Do we know the odds? Do we
No,
know?
not within the individual category. And that's what we've talked about before is you know the odds of hitting a bucket. You don't know the odds of the individual berries within the bucket. And that's what really gets us excited because we think, oh, the bucket, we're going to hit featured And in that feature, there is every superstar that our wildest dreams could have imagined. But the reality is, you're probably still going to hit a low character. I mean, that's the way all gacha games are built. That's not just Champions. Like, so let's not get on Champions is the worst train.
Sure.
This is the way gacha games work, but you're probably going to hit the worst thing in the bucket more often than you hit something great in the bucket.
So let me ask you this. Was it worth it? All of the resource and the $60 that I spent to take now on my roster, 6-star, right? Andre Cena, Triple H, DDP, Undertaker, Natalya, Alexa Bliss, Shayna Baszler, Hall of Fame Scott Hall, Shelton Benjamin, Powerhouse Otis, Tech Roman, Steamboat, and Tech Drew. For the amount of in-game coin, for the amount of in-game TP, in-game tokens, and real-world cash that I spent, what do we think about the birthday blowout loot? Or at least my results.
We
can only evaluate my results from the birthday blowout loot.
Well,
was it worth it? Because this is the question we're asking. Was it worth it?
Right. And I did 4. I just couldn't take up the other 3, and I wasn't going to spend. I mean, I was spending, I spent elsewhere, but
good choice,
I wasn't
my friend.
Spend here.
Good choice, friendo.
We'll talk about that because
I affirm your choice. I regret mine.
Well, so here's one thing. What you said on a previous episode was, like 2 years ago, if I could guarantee any character at 6-star bronze, it would be worth it. Any character whatsoever.
Yes.
And so you now have, let's see, 7 you have 14 new 6-star characters. Most of the lower tier players in the game don't have 14 6-star characters at all. In fact, I still see people posting, just got my first 6-star, just got my first, which I think is probably the minority now because of the ways they've given away 6-stars at some point and stuff. But yeah, I mean, were the individual characters worth it? No, not one at all, except for Steamboat. Steamboat, Taker, DDP, and Triple H, you had to take, or you were going to take 6-star bronze because of their trainer abilities.
Okay.
So those were worth it for that. But
fair enough. Now, let me just say this. That's like
the Oscar on the prize ball argument.
I saw one person posted on content, I think it was Merrick's Discord. They posted, I got all that same stuff too, but I also got Striker Cody. Ooh. And I was like, for me, that would have been worth it.
Right.
That one new switch out Tech Drew for Striker Cody, I'm elated. I'm doing backflips. The $60, all the resource, all the cash, all to get one new superstar. And so that's where I ask again, like, what in the heck does featured or guaranteed featured actually mean? Right? It does not mean new superstar. It does not guarantee. And so early this morning, I was feeling salty, right? And I posted the GIF of the from the Princess Bride. You keep using that word. I do not think you know what that word means. And I was like, what does premium or featured guaranteed even mean? Right?
Right. Well, let's talk about that. But can I just bring in an unexpected community spotlight on the spot?
Absolutely.
So in Discord right now, Rusty Graves said, in hindsight, in light of how bad the birthday loot was, I made this list to compare what I should have done. Great J-Man Gaming, friend of the podcast, replied, I mean, you're not entirely wrong. I didn't hit anything new, so massive disappointment overall, and I tapped a lot of tokens I would have used elsewhere. On the flip side, I do have a lot of 6-star fodder for faction events and a few upgraded characters or 26k trainers I probably would have never pushed up. I won't be doing this type of thing again in the future, though. And then other friend of the podcast, Iron Sheik 84. So make sure you subscribe to Great J-Man Gaming and Iron Sheik 84 on YouTube and Twitch. Uh, Iron Sheik said, I don't want to be negative, and I know it may seem hypocritical that I said I know what I'm getting and then get salty about what I got. I put a lot of coins, token, and TP and evolve shards into people I wouldn't have done otherwise, and I wish they'd have at least put in a code modifier to not pull dupes, which was a real kick in the something for me getting
In
two
the
Scott
Sheikies.
Hall of Fames in the Sheikies.
Yeah.
Overall, this month, it's hard to complain when we all got Cora, Bradshaw, Liv, etc., etc., etc. But this
Yes.
specific event, the Birthday Bash Tour and Loot, wasn't something that I'm leaving with a positive feeling about. I think
Same.
that's pretty balanced.
Well, okay. Yes. Same. Now, let me, since you mentioned that, you referenced that list, let me, for our listening or viewing audience, I created a column, right, of the free
Yep.
superstars I pushed up to the birthday loot, what I got from the birthday loot, and then I created a third column of free superstars that I should have pushed to 6-star in February. This is what my roster could have on it. If we're just doing a YOLO fest based on the let's call it a bungled bags, right? During the kickoff event.
Because they bungled. I get you.
Yeah. The bags just
I was
kind
like,
of
bungle
fell.
bags. What is
it was
that?
a bungle, right? So
Okay.
I could have today, I could have the same talent level, but instead of those superstars on it, I could have 6-star powerhouse Rick Steiner, who is a showdown incredible partner for my Scott Steiner. And they have a Steiner link that gives like +4 MP. Incredible. Yep. I could have 6-star Wes Lee, right? Who was a free MLC superstar. I could have Trickster Theory at 6-star silver, who's a pretty good feuder, a good solid choice, especially for bleed damage. He can do some other things. The corporate crown strap works really well on him to get beyond just monocolor. I could have at 6-star bronze tech Ludwig Kaiser. I could have at 6-star bronze, if I had not used the tokens, Striker Bradshaw, who would be my best striker at 6-star. I could have 6-star Trickster Cora Jade or Oblivion. So sub out whichever one you prefer there. And I could have, if I had not used the Acro currency, 6-star Acro Heavy Metal Rhea Ripley, who was the Chase superstar this month. That list is pretty potent. Now, is that list worth $60 and resources? Rick Steiner, Wes Lee, Trickster Theory, Ludwig Kaiser, Bradshaw, Cora Jade, and Heavy Metal Rhea. That list is worth infinitely more than $60 and the resource to get them there. Those superstars that fell out of the sky should have satisfied my itch for roster improvement and been the bird in the hand that guaranteed I would get something really, really good to overhaul my roster this month. But instead, I went for the two in the bush. Right?
Good analogy.
That's
you're right.
Old wise saying, right?
Yeah.
And here we are.
Now we're full of regret and we're old, cantankerous, grumpy old men.
Drinking my coffee like a grumpy old man.
No, but that does give a very good perspective, because I was able to still take Heavy Metal Rhea, for example, 6-star. And if I had made the choice for, I mean, Chain Gang John Cena was a really good update. But am I ever going to realistically use him? One of the conversations we were having in the Toxic Mafia Discord last night was, is Tech DDP now feud relevant? Like, if you were to put a 2 words for you plate or a Dead Man Sigil plate on him, use the stun, fill the board up with a bunch of X-Break gems as much as you can, and then use that to break, like, are you going to be a monster in feud? And the answer is yeah, he could surprise people. You could legitimately use Tech DDP as a dark horse against powerhouses in certain modes. However, is Tech DDP better than your best tech? No, not in the slightest. Like more than likely you have a better tech who can run a play. Like if you have Tech Cody, if you have Tech Nation of Domination Rock, if you have, name them, right? Like we start to go down a list of about 15 or 20 other characters that if you have them, you're not going to give Tech DDP your feud roster spot. Now people will, just because we said this, but you're not going to give them your feud roster spot instead of Tech Cody, right? It's just not
Right.
going to happen
Right.
for most rosters. But could you? Yes, he could. He'd be slow, but you could theoretically surprise a lot of people with Tech DDP. But is that what we're going for? But I don't think these were meant to be world-changing upgrades. They're still like, they didn't change their tiers. They're still C tier characters. And the fact that these 7 C tier characters fight like A tiers now is pretty impressive. But when you put the roster up against each other, yeah, I mean, Bradshaw 100% over the Lost Outlaw Taker, Liv 100% over Natty, right? I mean, just no questions there. But we didn't think about that math as we're making the investments. That's why we talk about playing the long game a lot on here.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the things that's so great about our dynamic is that you oftentimes are the voice of reason. You oftentimes are the voice, not oftentimes, always. You are always the voice that is very sound and very strategic and very thoughtful. I am typically a voice that is very emotional, very spontaneous, very um, reactive to things happening in the game. Yeah. And so I think somewhere, if we were a spectrum, somewhere between you and I is probably how the majority of the community sees the game, reacts to the game, plays the game. And yet, like, I can't help but think that the free to play player out there whose roster is somewhere under 5 million, let's say even under 4 million, I can't help but think that that person just won the month and had the best month of all, because they would not have been tempted to take the bait and YOLO the to 6-star the birthday surprise superstars. They would have received them free, kept them at 5-star bronze, and they might have pushed it to 5-star silver to chase the plate. Like I could see that happening, especially if others in their faction are like, no, this is beatable. You can do it. You can get the plate. So like, but if you're free to play and out of the sky fell Steiner, you know, you're still working on Wesley, you got Trick Theory, you're working on Bradshaw, like you got all of this with no temptation and no distraction. You are probably, since it's retro rewind, you're probably moonwalking right now. You'd be like, yeah, you dummies, you know, you got what you deserved. You should have just taken the kickoff bag superstars and enjoyed the month, and you would be as happy as I am right now. Right? Does it feel like the free to play player actually scored huge bigger this month?
Yeah. I think this was a month where the free to play won big time, because here's the reality. The start of the month, we were talking about how and we say everyone, I understand some of you didn't get all of these, but everyone got Bradshaw, Cora, Liv, Steiner, like you just go down that list. Austin Theory.
3 to 5 of that list.
Yeah. Plus, you got 7 new plates, because usually the 5-star bronze could beat the 6-star. I mean, you use our 3-minute move sets. I promise you could do it, right? Quick, cheap plug. But usually, so they got 7 new plates. Plus, they got 7 5-star characters that used to be functionally worthless and now have some utility. They're not world beaters now. They are functionally, I mean, they're basically functional now. Plus, they got the rewards from the different things. They might have gotten Heavy Metal Rhea, which is arguably the best acro in the game for females, possibly one of the best female characters, period. So they got all these things. Now we're saying, oh, this was a rough month because we didn't get what we wanted. So I think it's a good counterbalance. But that being said, Rusty, let's
Give it to
talk
me.
about
Hit me straight.
let's
Hit me
talk
between
about
the eyes.
polls.
Hit me
Let's
with
talk
a
about polls. Talk
oh.
about bad decisions
Well, I
and
mean, that's what I
polls.
was ultimately trying to hint at when I talked about the birthday loot blowout. For me, it was a bad decision equaling really bad pulls.
Yeah.
In the
I
word,
think people are curious how you feel about some other polls though, too.
well, let's just say the word guaranteed featured has caused great consternation in my soul this month because that
Yes.
was the bait that got me. This is a
Right.
gotcha game. That
Right.
word, that phrase, I no longer trust, and it has gotten me
It gotcha.
with Bray Wyatt weekend. That was the
Yeah,
key. I
both of
thought,
us.
Lee, there is 7 guaranteed featured superstars that would greatly and dramatically change my roster that is just a shade over 5 million. And I've been a 6-year plus player, however long the game, we came in year 1, Lee and I, right?
Right.
So however long, this is a 7-year anniversary. So, this would change my fate, right? To quote
Yep.
Merida from Brave, this would change my fate.
I've never seen
And
that.
so, oh, it's like one of the best, one of the probably, like, as far as like the parent that has to watch the Pixar movie with the kid, it's one
Right.
of the best, like most
Watch that
enjoyable for
one.
the parents.
Good to know.
So yeah, so there were 7 guaranteed featured that I thought would translate into, if I can just get 1, 2, I don't want to be greedy, maybe 3 of these superstars out of this loot. We were talking Solo Sokoa, Ministry of Darkness, Undertaker, Nation of Domination, Rock, right? Like the best of the best of the best, right? Showboat, Seth freaking Rollins, right? These are like the ones that we're all chasing.
Right.
And so there was an offer for a high roller loot. I've never been a high roller. I don't identify as a high roller. I would never be accused of being a high roller, especially with the multi-year tenure as a free-to-play person. And now that we're content creators, Lee and I had this great conversation of like, how cool would it be to like do that on our Friday night Twitch stream? And then I told Lee, I was like, I just got my federal tax return. Like, it just dropped into my account. And so if there ever was a time to take a chance on me, if there ever was a time to do it, the time is now.
Right.
And so I ponied up. I went to the big boys table. I tried to be a Las Vegas poker player, right? And wear those funny sunglasses and sit with the high rollers. And at the end of that, there's 120 pulls. At the end of that 120 pulls, I had people expressing their condolences to me like there had been a death on stream.
Yeah.
I had people reaching out via Discord in my DMs to check on my mental health.
Yep.
Because it was so atrocious. The pulls could not have been worse. 120 pulls, 0 new superstars.
Not even really a big fuse. You got one, no, you got like 6 fuses, but they weren't characters you were going to pay that money for.
They were all in the same vein as my Hall of Fame Scott Hall fuse or my Otis, right? They were all in the same vein as old, meta irrelevant, outdated posters that I just don't there was not a win. There was not a win in 120 pulls. So Lee had to be the person driving the stream on my account, clicking the buttons and seeing the pull.
That was fun, actually.
Like about 10 seconds before I saw how bad it was, he had already seen it and was trying his best to be encouraging and yet not give me a false hope.
Right.
And while also in the chat is just, lighting up with like, this is impossible. How can it be this bad? Like, this is horrible. Poor guy. Like, he could have done so much more this weekend, right? Than that. And the guaranteed featured shards were of Bray Wyatt. And you could get anywhere between, what was it, like 10 to 500 shards. All 7 of my shards that were guaranteed were all about 30 to 35 hits. And so not only did I not get any new superstars in the loot, I wasn't able to shard recruit Bray Wyatt. So it was the icing on the cake of disappointment.
Well, and a lot of people, watched multiple content creators because, I mean, let's be honest, this was Bray. This was a top tier new character, like just
a superstar we were emotionally connected to.
Yeah.
Post-mortem.
Right. And on the 6-month anniversary of his passing, one day shy of for our recording. Yeah. So Professor broke the dam. He went first, did a video. You can find it on YouTube's at Professor G Gaming. Yeah, and it was 120 pulls that were
let me just say this. He had a few fuses that I thought, if those were my featured pulls, I will be more than content. Like some of his fuses, I was like, if I got that new, because his roster level is about 3-4 million, maybe higher than mine, right?
Right.
So I was like, if I got that, I'm a winner tonight. So I watched his. I actually wasn't discouraged by his pulls. I thought, if I got what he got, I mean, he got him his shards or fuses, but if I got those as new, I'd be over the moon.
Right. Well, so they watched. So let's for a lot that was but yeah, I could see that being hope. But let's say they went in with some hope for yours. Now 240 pulls. That's insane. Just right there, that number. And
let me just say this, and Lee can't feel too bad for me, because moments after I did mine, he did his. And tell us about your luck.
Did mine. So from 240, we're at 360 degrees worth of pulls. And I really thought, so we, if you were on Twitch, we dropped in the comments section a prediction, not because I don't know how to do polls yet. We don't know how to use Twitch yet, right? We are old and outdated, irrelevant people. Scrub streamers. And so I just did a quick poll. How many, not if, how many new characters do you think Rusty will get? And the average was 5.
Right.
5 new characters.
Right. Out of 120 pulls. That's like a great guess. That's terrific.
I understand, especially with how many we were both missing, because I was missing a ton of those.
That's 3 megas, right? Lee, that's 3. So now we've watched Professor do 3 megas. We watched me do 3 megas. And then
I'm up.
You're up to do 3 megas.
Yeah. And I don't even think I got one relevant fuse. I might have gotten a fuse out of 300 or 120 pulls, but 3 megas. Yeah, it was just a garbage fire. It was absolutely, and the shards of Bray, I still don't have a path to shard recruit Bray at all. Just don't. Like, I mean, not this month anyway, not with what's available on the prize wall now, the prize wall that was there. I would still fall very, very short. So that would be, that would be one thing. But then we raided over to DJ's stream,
and T-Unit was on.
Right. There was 3 mega pulls, 120 pulls that far in the night that were public on content creators' channels. DJ did 3 sets on his channel. So T-Unit then the Reaper, then DJ. Out of all of them, DJ hit.
What did he get? I don't even know. What did he hit on?
He got 2 6-star bronze Hall of Fame Undertakers. He shard recruited Sammy Powerhouse, and he got a new 6-star pull on Captain Lou Albano.
Yeah,
I might have missed one, but
that would have made me feel okay. Like if I would have got, like I would have felt okay with that comparatively, right?
Right. But play the odds.
Right.
That's 320 or 360 polls, and then another 360 polls. So how much math is that, right? 740?
We're over 1,000 with the 360 plus 360, right? No. What?
Over 1,000.
Hang on. 3, 6, 9, 12. I don't know.
Should be 740, right? 740-ish. Let's use Siri math, not Steiner math, right?
That sounds good.
There was a 66 and a third chance and 33% of a chance that it spelled disaster, and it spelled disaster. So the community watched that, and then there was a number of people like, oh, I was gonna poll. Definitely not doing it now. Yeah. Definitely not doing it now. So the question rose up, was this because we now know Merrick's also did, he just didn't record his, he did his. He was able to shard recruit Bray. I think Professor actually ended up shard recruiting Bray, but had to drop more in addition to what was shown.
I could have gone hard after Bray after those pulls
by harder. Mike's harder lemonade.
And it was like it would have been basically, I would have had to have done double what I did up to that point.
Oof.
Yeah. So we're looking at another $250 probably spent.
That being said, that is what a lot of the bigger spenders in the community expect to spend. They expect to spend about $700 to $1,000 to get any given new character. So while most of us were like, how dare this be so bad? I saw a number of comments of people like, hey, this is a pretty average weekend, guys. You just haven't sat at the big boy table before. So
they were actually pleased with the loot. The true high rollers, in reading their actual comments, like they thought it was an improvement. They were pleased.
Yeah. I've seen a number of comments from some of our bigger spenders in the game that said, could we please do this again every weekend? This was a vast improvement for us. So we don't sit in those seats.
WCW, where the big boys play.
That's where
we are not the big boys.
We are not.
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah, we're the two guys who were wrestling the match that Scott Hall just walked out and just interrupted when he first debuted in WCW, and everybody else just went, okay, you guys get off the table. Scott Hall's here, right? We're not big boy.
Did you see that jabroni that they put against Braun Breaker on SmackDown this week? Like some local guy.
I can't watch SmackDown.
I think his name was like Ken Chan. I mean, he just got destroyed, and it was like an old Saturday morning squash match. And I thought, I didn't think they did these anymore. I didn't think they had just Joe Random that's in, is a mechanic on the weekends,
Well, let's talk about that in a moment when we get to, because we got to transition here pretty quick to big time TV. But final thoughts on spending, the Bray event, the big birthday bash. Your final thoughts, Rusty.
Here's my final thoughts. Don't do things for content, right? Like honestly, don't.
It's all that we got out of that.
And I would say this, I don't think our community is entertained. They really felt bad for us. So it wasn't that we did this for the content and we're high-fiving and it was so worth it. It was it was a feel bad for them.
Right.
So that was one lesson I learned is don't do things for the clicks, for the content. Do things that you would actually do in the game for yourself to better your account. Make your decisions with your rational thinking cap on, not with your heart, and not because you're attached to a superstar, regardless of how. In the trial, I should know, anytime there's a trial superstar, he will be infinitely harder to acquire. And I saw this to be true with Carmelo. I saw this to be true with
Undertaker.
Solo Sikoa. I saw this
Yeah.
to be true. What was the one you named?
Ministry of Darkness,
Yeah,
Undertaker.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So far out. So the trial superstars, get it through your peanut skull, Rusty Graves, are way harder to acquire than the Grayson Wallers of the world, right? The ones that are like
Yeah.
kind of out of reach, but like if you
Right.
grind or pay a little, like you're gonna get it, and it's only 1,200 shards, and like a lot
Right.
of those points come from your faction, right? So like Grayson Waller was an anomaly, and I need to quit thinking that that's a normative weekend superstar experience, and I need to put a mile marker in. If it's a trial superstar weekend, it will be even harder to get than the normal weekend.
I would say
That's a big takeaway.
I agree. So my final thoughts are, are we done with polls forever? No. Am I done this month? Yes. I mean, I'll still be doing polls and stuff,
Yeah.
but I need to go back to, I was talking to Merrick's about this. What Merrick said legitimately changed how I played the game like a year and a half, 2 years ago, because I wasn't spending as much. I was doing a mega pull every 3 months as opposed to, maybe one or two a month. And what he said was, don't spend unless there's guaranteed rewards on the other end. So, in other words, like you don't know what you're going to get in the lottery of the loot, right? But you do know that there's rewards attached to it. So, whether that's from the step ups, whether that's from the event milestones, whether that's from what you get in that pack, whether there's a prize wall, there's guaranteed points for the MLC, whatever it is, spend wisely, spend when you know you're going to get something that benefits you. And I would say this month, I this was the biggest month I've had for doing polls ever. I think I mean, the only other time I spent spent a lot of money like that would be Apollo and Zombieanka last year. And that, like, literally, that I did everything for the entire year in that set of polls. So there's that. But does that mean I'm done? No, I know the odds. I know what's going to happen, and I just freaking enjoy it. Like, this is, the addiction of gambling. We have to be careful to say, don't do it just because it feels good. But on the other side, like, I don't have other hobbies. I work, I family, and I play this game. That is my life, right? And I love it. But if I'm going to spend, I need to go back to spending wisely, because I did a mega pull each weekend so far. We'll not be doing one this last weekend of the month, but I did get Shinsuke, and then turn right around and shout out to Merrick's, but also with the stream that you and Merrick's were on, he was talking about the characters this month, and he's like, "Yeah, Shinsuke is probably the worst of all the ones that came out this month." And I'm like, "That's the one I got.
I
The
don't agree. Well,
one.
I
The
don't agree,
one
and I
I
don't agree with
got."
him. I don't
Come
agree with
on.
him
I
on
know he
that.
does 16 million turn one. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I like he said that,
But
and it was his stream, so I didn't want to have conflict with him. But I remember I was like, I don't think so.
yeah, I mean, but yeah, like
I think
he
Bianca and
is
Rock and Roman and Shinsuke are all
all
right
similar.
there, neck and neck.
Right.
Bray's a cut above,
Right. So
and
I
I think
started the
Rhea's a
month
cut
feeling
above,
good.
and
Oh,
I think
Rhea,
KO's a
yeah,
cut
again,
above
and
as well.
everybody has a chance to get Rhea, but
Right.
but to close that, so Shinsuke, I did not get Rock and Roman. I did not have a path to get Rock and Roman. And again, with the prize wall available right now, I
Right.
still have no way to get Rock and Roman walking out of this month. I probably would have liked him the best. I think I had the
Right.
most fun with him.
Do you have
I do not
Motu
have
Ray?
Bianca, do not have Bray.
Do you have Motu Ray?
I do.
So
Yeah.
so here's my thought. Like that's probably the one you could afford not to get, because
Yeah.
you can subsidize your purple gym damage.
Yeah.
I was desperate for Rock and Roman. So
Yeah.
I chased a little harder because I don't have Motu Ray. So I needed
Right.
that purple gym. Like
Right.
in fairness, the one you didn't get, it might be okay, right? Because you
Right.
have great powerhouses and you have purple gym damage covered.
Yeah. Well, let me close, because I'm going somewhere with this real
Sure.
quick, though. Because then on that Rock and Roman weekend, I didn't get Rock and Roman. I did pull Nation of Domination Rock. And so let me put this into perspective.
Who cares about Roman? Forget him.
That's right.
You know, he's the ex-boyfriend you never wanted anyway. He didn't treat you right.
That's right. Somebody told me that he was the girlfriend that looked like the boyfriend that you had in February of last year.
Come on, the Killers.
Anyway.
Keep that going. I love the Killers. Yeah.
Oh,
We quote a lot of music.
okay.
We quote a lot
How
of
many
song lyrics.
people in the whale category, and this is
Right.
our whale friends. So again, we've talked about the fact you can be mad at them all you want for what they do or don't do with their money. They are the ones who keep the game going. Disproportionately, they
Sure.
have an impact on the game. How many of them spent not just thousands of dollars just for Nation of Domination Rock? And here I am going,
but,
oh,
yeah.
I only got Nation of Domination Rock. I didn't get Bray, right?
Super good. Super good.
Perspective.
That's great perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
and not only that, and to be fair, like you pulled Rock live on stream. Like that's exciting. Yeah. Like that was an exciting pull, not just sitting in the toilet, you know, tapping the screen by yourself. Like you had an audience to actually witness the win and you can celebrate it, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, why don't we talk about some real world WWE stuff, Rusty?
Well, looking at the real world of professional wrestling now, we're looking at the results from Elimination Chamber in Perth, Australia, and also what that implications are for WrestleMania. We are now less than 40 days from WrestleMania. There won't be another premium live event until WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And crazy. These results really matter. Result number one, Lee, let's talk. Does this matter or not? The Kabuki Warriors, the defending women's tag team champions, in the pre-show, one of my favorite matches, even though it was very short, defeated Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae. Indy being a local Australian native, huge crowd response for her.
Yep.
Does it matter?
Didn't see it. Was on the pre-show, so didn't watch it. I mean, I do typically watch some of the pre-show stuff, but just the timing of that day. I just couldn't do it. So I didn't see it. I will say though that it does bring up, like, one of the big things is currently justice for Bayley, because Bayley won the Royal Rumble. You would not know that if you watch current TV.
I haven't seen her on anything.
Since she won the Rumble, she had that one segment that justified why she's facing Io. She wasn't at any press conference. She's not on the poster for WrestleMania.
No, I don't know.
And this kind of reinforced that.
So this match was given less than 5 minutes, and it was one of the better
on the pre-show
technical matches of the night. Candice LeRae is a wrestling instructor, one of the most proficient female technicians. Indy is the local girl. This should have been given more space. This should have been on the card. And I think out of the women's tag teams, like Indy and Candice actually have a following. They're not having to manufacture a fan base, especially people that were NXT Black and Gold, like enthusiasts, with the centerpiece that Candice LeRae was during the DIY implosion, one of the most important storylines in the history of Black and Gold. So there is a contingency of fan, myself, and those like me who are wondering, what in the world do Candice and Gargano and Ciampa actually have to do to get a proper push on the main roster? Because they continue to be these workhorses that are overshadowed, overlooked. Is it just because they're small? Is that it? Is it because they're little, physically short people? It doesn't make any sense to me. And then Indy overcompensates for Candice's height. She's taller than any other woman, I think, in the women's division. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I mean, I think they just haven't earned their spot on the main roster yet, but how much of that is down to booking, which is crazy because, you know, the one who booked them so well in NXT is the one booking them now.
And I would say this,
say about that.
You're starting your intro about where is Bayley, file that under the same category of, like, what in the world does she have to do to actually get a push? Because this is Crazyville. She has a story that actually matters, where this Rhea Becky match matters not. It matters to no one.
Right.
Let's go there, Lee. Women's Chamber winner, Becky Lynch. Who cares? Do you care? Why?
I do. Yes. Because for one, so I'll be on the opposing side here. Justice for Bayley, yes. She's my Seth Rollins of the women's division. I don't enjoy watching her in anything she does whatsoever. I don't.
Look,
like
I'm
Bayley.
Solo Sikoa. I'm coming out of the back to ruin the main event for you.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only
hope.
How
many bloodline in a black hoodie endings are we going to get this year? Like,
right,
enough already.
So I'm not invested in Bayley. I don't have any interest in her match at WrestleMania. I do think that she won the Rumble. She should be featured. That is
the
100%.
Story? What's the compelling story with Becky Rhea? Help me see it.
So they've been building Becky Rhea for over a year. They've done even commercial segments for last year's game where like kind of pit Becky and Bianca and Rhea as like who's the top female in there. I think for me, and I don't want to say she's like done, but I think this is Becky's last hurrah. Honestly, I think it's her time to win the big one more time and then kind of hand it off to the next generation, which I know she's not that old and next generation like but I think it's
There's
her time.
So much
and
female talent
her versus Rhea has been something they've built that up like since the pandemic era almost. Like it's been big. So for me, Becky is my favorite female superstar of all time, top 5 superstars of all time. And I just want to see her in the main event. Like
do you think
I just love seeing her battle?
Do you think that Rhea versus Becky will actually be the match on the card?
So there is question because if you watched Raw, Liv Morgan did a little segment of like her being like, everything's about Becky. It's just so they are casting some. I do think this will play into when we talk about Rhea versus Nia later on. Becky winning that match did at least make the main event of this show go, oh, maybe this isn't a foregone conclusion because Nia and Becky could be a story if Rhea and Becky isn't. And
again, here we go.
Let's just call it this. The previous generation of those who booked the show had a very staunch rule that if you were fighting in your hometown, you were going to lose, period. And so Rhea fighting in her home country with the way WWE used to book things meant that she would lose. Nia versus Becky being a valid match. But of the other women in the chamber, is there anyone I wanted to see win? And the answer was not one single one. I don't want Bianca back up.
Man, Tiffany Stratton. So good.
Well, let me get there real quick. I don't want Bianca back up. She still needs to cool down. She had too long of a run where it was like, oh, she's Superman. Nobody can touch her. I don't want to see that again yet. Maybe in the future, not yet. Liv is a good B player. I don't see her. She had her main event run.
Just the poor man's Alexa Bliss is what I feel about her.
The poor man's Alexa Bliss.
Yep.
Right.
She doesn't have the mic skills. She doesn't have the ring skills.
Right.
She's the cute blonde that kind of looks alternative. Ooh. And Alexa has that on lockdown.
Yeah.
And so it's like
I do like Liv. Why?
But what about her? Does she cries and gets really hurt a lot?
She's got the Harley Quinn energy, which is what she went for with all the. I mean, so did Alexa.
That was how Alexa premiered on the main roster as Harley.
I know. Harley Quinn, I know.
You just basically proved my point that she's the poor man's Alexa Bliss.
So, out of everyone, so I think for the women's chamber, the one that got the biggest benefit from it was Tiffany Stratton because one, the Australian audience was so far behind her. Two, for people like me, this is the first time I've ever experienced anything with Tiffany Stratton. Never seen her, never. I heard that she was the title and she beat Becky for the title or whatever.
Yeah.
So this was the rub for her. So I think like talking about Mania being the existing guard, which is Becky, I think after Mania, she wins the title. Tiffany Stratton steps up, beats Becky again. This is the story I would tell. And now Tiffany Stratton has this huge chip on her shoulder to
I
say,
love
you
it.
know, the man, the dominant one. I beat her for the NXT title. I beat her for the women's world title. I am now the man. That's where
She
this needs to go.
Tiffany Stratton is the most talented female in all of professional wrestling, both
Ooh,
on the mic, in the ring, camera ready, ring ready, former
sizzling
Olympic
hot
athlete.
takes.
She is the top guy in the
Yeah,
women's division. They just don't know it yet.
right.
She's it.
So that's why I think Becky winning is important, because now you're booking Tiffany Stratton versus Becky Lynch post Mania.
Right.
That's where we go.
I think I
That's
think
my
what's going to
argument.
develop in the women's division, and this is a deep forecast, but I think Jade Cargill and Tiffany Stratton have the potential to be the Randy Orton versus John Cena for the next 10 years as like the premium rivalry where the title is on the line and goes back and forth, and they're the top of the division for the next decade. I really see it. I really believe
I'm
it.
with you. I'm
And
sad Jade got pulled from that, but then I would have wanted Jade to win the
right,
title, and that's
everyone
not,
would have.
yeah,
Everyone would
everyone would
have,
have.
right?
Yeah.
So
So
you
that's my
can't.
argument for Becky Lynch. That's why it was so good that she won this.
I
If they build
right,
Tiffy Time
and I
as
love that. I'm all.
challenger.
I would love to see that. I don't believe we're gonna get a Becky versus Rhea match. I just don't.
Mm,
I don't see a way
mm,
forward out of that. I think
mm.
we're gonna get Becky versus Rhea with Nia and
Maybe
potentially
with
with
Liv.
Bianca. That it's going to be
Oh,
a 4-way, a 3-way. I think someone else is going to eat that pin.
yeah.
They cannot have Becky pin
Clea.
Rhea cleanly. Combine those words. It cannot
Rhea
be a clean
cleanly.
pin. Becky cannot go over on the number one merchandise seller in all of WWE. It's not going to happen. Rhea's
Yeah.
not dropping that title cleanly to Becky.
I don't
A
think she'll
Becky
drop it cleanly, but she's going to drop it.
a Becky run doesn't even make sense to me at this point.
Mm.
Neither does a Bianca run. A
Yeah.
Nia run would be terrible, but at least it would make sense. At least it would make sense
No.
that there could be a big bad that everyone's gunning for and that someone like a Stratton could take down. That makes sense to me, right? I like your idea better. I like your idea better about
Yeah.
rekindling. Tiffany and Becky Lynch had incredible chemistry in that feud.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
A plus viewing, incredible.
Yep. So that's why Becky 100% has to beat Rhea, and this is what they need to book.
And
Just
she
book
can't
it.
pin her cleanly. It's like she can't win it by
She
count
beats
out.
Rhea cleanly, and then Tiffany Stratton beats Becky cleanly,
I,
and then you can go in on a feud
yeah.
between Rhea and Tiffany Stratton. Like
they just don't protect. They don't protect their superstar. I mean, they do protect their superstars tremendously, and I don't
yeah,
see her just eating a pin. Same way I don't see Roman just eating a pin to Cody. Like I don't see it
yeah,
happening. I don't see Roman just signing off. He's not going to lay down for Cody and get bested at Mania.
we'll get
There's
there.
no way. There's no way. But what the heck is this? Drew McIntyre wins the men's chamber? Why? Who can like maybe in the same breath as I would say who cares about Becky Rhea? Who cares what Drew, Seth? We got a Scottish person against a reigning champ, and you don't really care about the match, and they're kind of mirrored. Becky
Yeah.
Rhea versus Drew Rollins. I could care less. Whatever happens in the other title is far more interesting. Lee, am I wrong? Is this a horrible
I
take?
think
Am
it's
I?
just a different perspective, because again, if it were Rhea versus Nia, Rhea versus Bianca or whatever, I'm the viewer who that's my potty break match right there. And
Yeah.
similarly, I've said it before, I don't enjoy Seth Rollins as a character. I
Is this the
just
night
don't.
one main event?
Maybe there's talk for Cody versus Rock as night one, and then Cody versus Roman for night two. But let me get there. So Drew McIntyre was, I loved his championship reign during the pandemic era. I mean, I was all in. And if you watch that documentary, the 365 for Drew McIntyre for
I
WrestleMania,
need to watch it.
where
Maybe it'll help me
he
care.
talks about like I got to be the champion. I finally got to the part that I've wanted my whole life. I dreamed about it my whole life, and there's no one there. You're like,
That's right.
oh, your heart goes out for him. Oh man, I just messed up my throat trying to be Scottish.
Let me ask you this.
So I want to see him, and to be honest, he might be the most interesting person to me in the men's division overall.
Wow.
Like I really like his story, and him coming out with the CM Punk digs and doing the whole I prayed for this.
That's
I prayed
really
for this, and it happened. Like, oh my gosh, like that jerk hole of a character he's playing.
Yeah.
I love it. Like, I secretly
You're right.
just love
He's
it.
a far more interesting heel than he is a face. He makes no sense as a face. He has the body of a heel. Him and Orton both make no sense as good guys.
Yeah.
Like they're weird as the good guy.
So the only reason I really enjoy this though is Drew versus Seth doesn't really interest me at all. But Drew when CM Punk comes back, that's going to be so good.
I thought you were going to take it in a different direction. I thought you were going to say, but Drew versus Seth when Senor Money in the Bank comes down and has the El Heisto de la Cinturio, you know, it's like he's
that could be too.
And pull off something. What's he holding this briefcase for still? Right? Night one, they lose the titles. Night two, maybe he comes out
to the Awesome Truth. Yeah.
Or maybe early in the show they lose the titles, and then later in the show he cashes in, right? I mean, how are they going to make this interesting? It's going to have to be CM Punk ringside interference, a Senor Money in the Bank cash in, even if it's a failed cash in, but it's a cash in nonetheless, right? Let him superplex Seth, and then Drew gets the pin, right? I don't know. Maybe Orton interfere. I don't know. There's any number of things that I could see.
Yeah.
This match is bland chicken that needs some seasoning. This is like, put it on the grill.
Agreed.
It ain't sizzling. You better put some sauce on that because we need it popping for WrestleMania, right?
Yep, agreed. I mean, again, for me, it's because it's against Seth, not because it's Drew. But still, either way, it is very filler, and it shouldn't be, probably, with a world title on the line. Anyway,
does the bloodline interfere? Does the bloodline interfere? And
that's what they brought in this week as a possible question mark. I honestly think they're building up to a Seth heel turn where he sides with Roman.
And so the Shield comes back. Or what?
Maybe Seth, maybe the bloodline turns on Roman and the Rock leads the bloodline. And then Seth has already aligned with Roman, and so that now the Shield versus the bloodline.
Phenomenal. You know how much merch they would sell if the Rock led the defunct
bloodline
Roman excommunicated bloodline? Like that would be like reunite the Usos,
the pure bloodline.
Oh man. Oh my
gosh. You were always impure, Roman. I am the pure tribal chief.
So let me ask you this. Like, low on the card at Elimination Chamber was the tag match, Finn Balor, Damian Priest, and they defeated the what's it called? The New Catch Republic of Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. Now, here's what I'm asking though. Does that match actually have the most implication on what could possibly play out at WrestleMania, meaning a cash in or a solo run for Balor or a new tag team rising up to take the place of these kind of placeholder champions that make no sense? What do you see? What do you think about any of that? The New Catch Republic is really hard to say.
I was thinking about that before because you said, like, when we just put two guys together, what is that? I mean, technically, that's what every tag team is when it starts. It's just two random guys that they put together, whether it's in developmental or whether it's when they're training. I mean, at some point, it's just, oh, we threw these guys together to see what they could do. And I think Finn Balor and Priest have, once they stopped the whole, are they going to fall apart? Once they stopped all that, it was like, they're a decent team. Now, in terms of Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, NXT history, NXT UK history, thank goodness Pete Dunne is Pete Dunning again and not Butching again.
No Butch.
But the new Catch Republic is, maybe I'm missing it. Maybe there's something that I don't understand in that. That is perhaps the worst tag team name I've ever heard. They could have come out as the Newserweights, and I would have been happier with that.
So Pat McAfee said, who's now apparently a staple on every WWE TV program, Pat McAfee said, well, Catch style wrestling is what is so big in England and what they kind of exemplify in ring.
Right.
I never heard this term before.
Me either.
I didn't know it was a thing. But it's kind of like strong style, right? King of strong style. And you're like, what the heck is strong style? I don't watch New Japan.
Well, then I'm glad to be wrong on that. It just struck me as lesser than early on. But you're right.
It has a meaning, but the meaning doesn't matter. And we don't know what the meaning is. I couldn't.
Yeah. Unless they go in on that more.
Maybe so.
But like strong style didn't mean, but at least strong style has the word strong style in it, right? Whereas new catch, like honestly, initially I thought it was a fishing term. I thought it was like, they're going to go catch some fish or something like that. Like legitimately, that's what I thought it was. But again, I don't want to be xenophobic and say that is the wrong play. If that means something to a culture, then that's phenomenal. It landed weird with me.
Well, I followed WWE NXT UK, the longest acronym in wrestling history. I followed it pretty close. I don't ever remember hearing that term. I don't ever remember that being a thing. It might have been very possible that I just missed it.
Yeah.
But until they decoded the meaning of it, I was like, why do they keep screwing with Pete Dunne's names? Why can't they just give him a good name? Like when he was with the Brutes, right? And he had Butch and Botch, right? The two guys that like either made no sense or tried to kill you in the ring, right?
Whoa.
And then it's like,
Whoa.
Oh man, right? But it's like, why keep screwing with him? Why keep giving him dumb gimmicks and dumb? Just let him be the scrappy little guy that he is in his onesie. I love that he wears that,
his furry onesie,
the bizarre onesie that he wears, and he bites the belt as his. That was all great,
right?
Lee, do you have any? We'll wrap up the show, but do you have any?
Sure.
Bold predictions or hot takes for what you think will happen at Mania that we just won't see coming?
Like, well, we don't want to overlook Rhea versus Nia. I will say it was class move giving Rhea the top spot, top honors.
We left that off the card.
She won. She was in her hometown. She was it was a good match. Like she worked well with Nia, made you believe for a few minutes. Oh my gosh, maybe she could have. But then she did the thing. She celebrated with her family. I mean, it was just a feel good moment, and it was cool. They very easily could have put the men's main event. Instead, they went with the right call.
You're right. And I'm sorry I omitted that when I was reading through the card.
Well, we kind of talked through Rhea and Nia in the Becky conversation. So I don't think there's anything else I have to add there per se. Well, I will say overall,
in front of 50,000 fans at a huge soccer stadium in Perth, Australia. That's incredible to have her headline, to be the headliner, the main event.
Yeah.
That's really incredible.
Yeah, in fact, that was my wife, because my wife asked, like, why is Rhea and Nia going last on here? I was like, well, imagine that you get to like do a show, whatever, maybe you're a musical artist, maybe you're a painter, maybe you're whatever, but you're an artist. You get to do a show in your hometown, and now it's 50,000 people have come there to see you. Like that is. For Rhea, I mean, whatever happens at Mania, that is the moment that she'll talk about in documentaries 25 years from now.
You're right. And it was a great moment. It was a great moment for women's wrestling. And we probably talk more about the women's division on our show and always have. I think it's just more interesting,
It's more
honestly. And
aside from maybe the Cody Roman
right,
stuff, but maybe we can
right.
talk that next week. Who
Well, and I have
knows?
daughters, so like I'm a girl
Yeah,
dad. So like the women's
yeah,
division is the
same.
main division in my house. So I probably talk
That's
about it
good.
and follow it closer.
That's good. Well, and my son's favorite wrestler has been Bianca. And my daughter doesn't care about wrestling, but my son, like, he'll like tell me
Right.
when Bianca's on, and then otherwise he's like, you know, he likes some of the guys' stuff. Like when they really are beating the snot out of each other, he's like, ooh,
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna watch this. But otherwise, he doesn't care about the stories
Any
aside from
weird
Bianca.
or bad or bold or strange Mania you got a 2-night event that's probably going to have 40 matches in it. Do you have anything, just a bold, out of left field prediction or something you'd love to see happen that we would not expect?
I don't know if it's a prediction or if it's just kind of following up on what I already said. For me, this feels like it's a zero pay-per-view, right? It's a 40, it's a 30, it's a 20. They've usually that has been where they kind of start to really push the next generation of what's going
Mm,
on. And that doesn't always hold true. I get it. WrestleMania 10 wasn't quite that, although it was Razor Shawn and blah blah blah. But that tends to be where the next generation starts to really get their shine.
yeah.
I would say, like with my prediction with Becky going to Tiffany Stratton, I think Becky wins, and then Tiffany Stratton takes it and runs with the future.
Hmm.
The bloodline story needs to be this chapter of it needs to be done. Cody needs to take the belt, run with the future of it. And then they'll set up Rock versus Roman for the tribal chief dumb,
I'm
and Roman
excited about
becomes the
that.
good guy. But I think this is really like with the tag team titles, it's time to establish a new town. I know it's
Split
going to be
them.
the awesome truth, but
Split the belts,
split them. Agreed. With the
please.
IC title, Gunther's going to lose that and go on to face Drew
At Mania?
for the main title. No, he's going to lose the title at Mania,
Who's
and then he's
who's
going to
he
go on to face
to
Drew.
who? Who's he going against? Or who would you
Um,
say he's going against?
well, I don't know if you follow the storyline right now. They've set up about 5, 6 different people. I think
Right.
they're going to do like a massive multi-man match, and then Gunther can say, "I never lost. I didn't eat the pin. I never lost
Put it
this."
on do a ladder match, like a Money in the Bank style. That would be
Yeah, disadvantage
incredible.
Gunther right off the bat.
That
Yeah,
would be
this
incredible.
ground-based striker.
I could
But I
see
think
Gable
Gunther
or
comes in.
Jey
Sorry, go ahead.
Uso, Jey
Yeah,
Uso or Gable or Sammy. Any one of those I think would be
yeah,
credible. Um,
right.
Sami Zayn climbing a ladder to pull that IC off in
Would be
Mania would be
huge.
Daniel Bryan type main
Right.
event fire. It would be so
Yeah.
exciting.
And that was a zero. That was 30, right? So
Yep.
this is where, so I think Gunther gets the rub where he loses this title, but now he goes on to win the world title. Tiffany isn't in the main event here, but she is the one established to go on to fight Becky after that. I think this is the inaugurating of the next era of WWE.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Um, I don't know that I have a really bold, outlandish Mania prediction yet. Um, but I think we're seeing a need for the tag titles to be split, um,
100%.
for the um, women's tag titles to matter again
Matter.
and not float around NXT at all.
Right.
Um, I think this is going to be, and okay, here's my outlandish take is this. We will see some appearance or some foreshadowing of the Wyatt Six debut, or they will debut the night after Mania, the Raw after Mania. And I think it might even be
Interesting.
Alexa just walking out in her getup, or it might be, Karrion Cross getting jumped out of AOP's thing, and I think we're gonna see whatever the build of this, what they're calling Wormwood, right? Which is a great C.S. Lewis reference from Bo.
Yeah.
I think Mania is the time to surprise us with that,
Yeah.
or that could be me wishful thinking and hoping and praying that something interesting and as creative as what the Fiend was could make its return, and that there could be an element on WWE TV again for sci-fi horror, that there could be some. With the Undertaker gone, there is a huge void in wrestling of what his persona and his storytelling was so captivating for the majority of our life. And now it's gone. That magic is gone. Bray was the continuance of that magic, and then he was gone way too early. I would love to see that. That would be my outlandish prediction, bold aspiration for Mania.
That's good. That's really good. Well, I think we're out of time, but I would love to see that. If you followed this part but didn't see the first part, be sure and check out WWE Champions, the mobile game. It's better than 2K24. It's better. Also,
take that, suckers.
Just gonna keep dropping that in there. Plus, it had Stardust first. Plus, it had Muhammad Ali first. Eat it. Anyway, but we do enjoy this community. We love being a part of it. Thank you for allowing us to have a voice at the table, so to speak. And we will see you on our next one. Bye.